I'm Steve Foskett, and this is Worcester by Bike. The key to climbing College Hill: slow and steady wins the race. It's steep and it's long. Good morning, welcome to episode 22 of Worcester by Bike. We're here for what it's all been leading up to, really. This is my favorite park in the whole wide world, including the city of Worcester, Cookson Park. Let's take a look. Cookson Park has been Cookson Park or Cookson Field. You know, the names are interchangeable. It's up on the top of College Hill, across from the College of the Holy Cross. You can get there from Kendig Street, Clay Street, Malvern Road. There's a little trail. There's a bunch of ways in. It's been around since 1936 as Cookson Field. It was named after Mayor Walter J. Cookson, who died in office at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland in 1936. He had been sort of ill. He had a heart attack when he was laying the cornerstone for the former city hospital. So he wasn't in very good health. He lived around here. He lived at the corner of Southbridge and Cambridge in the Princeton Street area. He went to St. Matthews. He was from the neighborhood. So they named this area after him. It's 26 acres. It's a beautiful park. It's sort of a medium-sized park in the whole scheme of things with the city. It's not really small, but it's not Boynton Park or Green Hill Park large. It's sort of in that middle. Newton Hill, similar size. Newton Hill I think is a little bigger, but it's beautiful. It used to be more of a landscaped park. We'll talk about that. But now it's basically some trails. It's got an old trolley road that comes through. The discontinued portion of Clay Street comes through here. It's nature. It's passive recreation, I think the city would call it. It's my favorite park. There's basically three tiers to the park. There's sort of this lower level, which includes Clay Street, the old trolley trail. It goes all the way through. There's a baseball field down there, an old baseball field that the kids from the Malvern Road School used to go play in. Neighbors have told me. It's sort of been recaptured by nature. It's a meadow down there. You can still see the backstops kind of creeping down. And then you have this sort of mid-level up there, which we'll get to, which is really cool. And then you got way at the top, which is level with the upper level, the sort of Hogan Center level of Holy Cross. So it's three distinct sort of levels here. It is a wonderful place to ride. There's all kinds of little neat features, some faster trails, some slower ones, some rocks if you're into that kind of stuff, climbing, descending. It's a great place to walk, great place to take your dog. As you can see, Linus is my little co-star for this episode. Then when you get to the end of the Clay Street, which does go all the way through, there's a tree down, so you gotta kind of hop over it, but I like it there. It keeps the dirt bikes out. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But then you turn around, there's kind of like a service road thing that goes up to the midsection, which I think is really interesting. We'll explore that a little bit. So this is one of my favorite features, the post-apocalyptic playground here. If you ever wanted to film a movie from the future, after humans, come up here. We got this old swing set. It's an old sandbox over there. There's some cool old benches, which is one of my top three things about this park that I love that we'll explore in a minute. But it just kind of gives you a sense of how the park was laid out at one point. It was never really fully developed, but it was, I think, more of a formal park at some point, akin to Vernon Hill Park or something like that, where you had these vistas, beautiful views up here. Obviously, we're on College Hill. But, it was more landscaped. There was some big trees. I think it was some rolling hills and things like that. You can kind of picture it the way that it's set up. And then I think just like a lot of things in the city over the years in the mid-20th century, it sort of just got abandoned, got neglected. Everything grew in, and here we are today. So you decide to check out the park. You come up here, you're in the middle of the park, in the middle of the woods. There's this beautiful new bench from the College of the Holy Cross Student Government Association, 2011-2012. A lot of college kids live along the back of College Street, along the back of the park. So you say to yourself, why would you just put a bench in the middle of the park? But what I think is cool, and maybe this wasn't even intentional, But up here, especially the upper level, in the woods, there's all these old bench frames from the old layout of the park. Where, like I said down there with the playground, it gives you an idea of how the park was laid out. There's semicircles of bench frames, and there's fireplaces or grills. People had a picnic up here. You could look down, beautiful views. But then all these trees just grew in and around the benches, and so the benches now look like they were just put haphazardly in the middle of the woods. Like, why would you do that? But it's history and it's nature taking over, and I love it. Now, as you get up to the upper level, the trails kind of straighten out a little bit. They get a little longer, a little faster. Sort of traditional loops. One big long one goes along the back of College Street, basically, along the backyards. And it's fun. It's not a huge amount of looping or sort of traditional single track up here. It's more just like these long, broad walking trails that there's a bunch of intersections too, where you can kind of choose your own adventure. And I like to come up here without Linus sometimes, because he has a certain way he likes to go, and there's some trails that he just doesn't care for. So I get to do those when I come up here by myself, which is what I'm doing today. But it's just a lot of fun. You're not going to get lost. It's small enough that you're not going to get lost, but it's big enough so that you are in nature, like we said, with so many of these parks in the city of Worcester. So just come up here, bomb around, have fun. So this right here is my favorite trail in the whole park. We're right in the fat middle of the park, sort of equidistant from the lower level and the upper level. There's a nice little squiggly trail that goes through here. Linus never wants to go on it, so I always like to take the opportunity. So here we are, sitting on one of the ghost benches. This one actually has a piece of wood on it. I don't know if it's original, but it's sometimes people knock it off. I always put it back on. But you can see these old nails, and it's cool stuff. So we're here at the top. This is pretty much level with the upper end of the college. I love this park. I just can't keep saying it enough. I guess there's many reasons why it's my favorite park. I think that your favorite park should be the one that's right up the street from your house. And I live right down the street, so I come up here at least several times a week with Linus. I come up here every now and then just to get out for a lunch ride, just to get the legs moving. Come out here in the winter. You can do snowshoeing up here. It's really fun. Sometimes the kids do sliding, sliding, whatever you call it, down some of the trails. It just really is a nice place to be. I feel like I've really learned a lot about how you take care of a park, how there's the relationship there between the city and residents as far as how these parks get kept up, because there's so many of them. There's 61 city parks and playgrounds in the city that they really can't, I think if you nail down the parks department, they'd say they just can't get to all of them. So they'll take care of certain strategic ones, I guess you'd say, but other ones it's sort of left to friends groups, to residents, to things like that. And they are responsive when you need them. I had them put a chain next to the entrance down there, because there was some ATV activity, so they came up and put a chain right away. Very responsive. But we're sort of left to our own devices here in this park. It's tucked in. It's out of the way, but it is gorgeous. It's a gem. I've seen so many animals up here: deer, turkeys. I saw an owl, hawks, foxes, tons of squirrels. Obviously, love squirrels. But blueberries, there's lady slipper plants that are sort of endangered. They take a long time to grow, and they have a symbiotic relationship with a fungus in the soil or something like that. They come up in the spring. They're beautiful. This is just a great place to be. Spring, summer, fall, winter. It's my favorite park. In whatever park is closest to your house should be your favorite park. And you should go up there. You should pick up the trash. You should take care of it, because it's there for you. It's there for everybody, and you're 180,000th owner of that park, is what I like to say to myself, at least. But thanks for joining us, episode 22, Worcester by Bike.